Good morning, everybody. So that song is from Madison Love, who's the #1 writer of songs in the world, and happens to be Roger Love's daughter. So we thought that was appropriate for our speaker this morning. So I'm delighted to have that. But yesterday was great. Thank you for being here. We think we're onto something special, and it's all because of you. And I think the importance of what we're doing. But Roger Love is regarded as the #1 vocal coach in the world, and it's not even close. His career started as a coach starting when he was 16 years old, when he took over for his coach when he went on vacation. All of a sudden, the clientele wouldn't go back to the old coach. They stayed with the 16-year-old Roger, and he's been for Bradley Cooper, for Brad Pitt, for Reese Witherspoon. He goes on and on and on. There's nobody in the world that has the experience or the reputation that Roger Love, and he's going to be sharing this with you. But what's so important and why it's so relevant for the mission movement is finding your voice is really what Roger's passion is, and helping everybody be more effective communicating, because that's what it's all about, how you communicate to create relationships, to be able to move things ahead, and he's the best in the world at it. So. And besides that, he's just an amazing, wonderful guy. So with that, give him a round of applause. Roger Love. We're going to play a video first.
Did you get singing lessons for it?
Oh, yeah. For the movie? Oh, yeah. Roger Love, this incredible vocal coach. I worked with him 5 days a week for months. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Last time you were here, we talked about your singing.
Billy Crudup and I had to go get singing lessons with this man named Roger Love, who is a singing teacher, and I fell in love with it. We both had so much fun.
What is a voice coach?
Well, what I do as a voice coach is I help people create sounds that achieve their desired goals. When I was 13 years old, I had finally convinced my parents to let me take singing lessons because all I ever wanted to do was sing.
Your voice is the most powerful communication tool that you possess, and yet many of you are trapped behind voices that don't even begin to convey or showcase the very best of who you are.
I read about you online, and then I got these Your Voice Free book.
Yeah.
And you to talk about stuttering in it.
Mm-hmm. Is it even possible that your voice might be ruining your life?
I realized that I loved teaching and I loved making transformations, helping people get better.
There's no difference between singing and speaking.
There's no difference between singing and speaking.
Because life doesn't really exist without communication. We have less than 2 seconds before people decide whether to believe you enough to listen to the next 2 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
I don't wonder whether they like me. If I like me, they're gonna just jump on the bandwagon. They are you.
Let me separate fact from fiction and help you find a voice that connects you to people. When you help someone find their real, authentic voice, they are overcome with unimaginable joy. And so the fact that I get to be a part of that transformation on a day-to-day basis makes me grateful every day, all day.
And hundreds of thousands of people later, I'm just getting started. here's the current problem as oral communication exists in the world. The number one fear in America, and pretty much around the rest of the world, is that they don't turn on their mics enough. And now, I've turned it on. Thank you so much for helping me find my voice. Wow, that was a perfect transformation. Did you hear anything I said before then? Wonderful. Then we've missed nothing. Problem in the world, number one fear, is speaking in public. Come on, don't you think there should be a bigger fear? But speaking in public is the number one fear. Alongside of that, the number one most requested skill set, certainly in business, I say in life in general, is the ability to speak to one another, to have conversations. So here's the problem. I'm sure you see it. The number one fear and the number one most requested skill set collide. The very thing that we need to be good at is the very thing we're all afraid of. So I spend my time fixing that specific problem. This event is called a Mission Summit. Great name, and very aligned with what I do. I use voice. Hello. I use voice to showcase the individual and the company's mission and values. When I've done my work correctly, the company and the individuals are like a choir of soloists who all choose to sing the same song, and they're singing the virtues and the mission and the core values of that company when I've done my job. I thought I was really ahead of the times. In 2014, Tony Hsieh from Zappos hired me to come in and train 3,500 employees, team members at Zappos. And Zappos, back then, 2014, was very, very culture mission forward. And they had printed all their core values, and they wanted the employees, the team members, to showcase all of the core values. So I came in, I did something which I thought was revolutionary at the time. I listened to team member after team member, and I read all of their core values, their mission statements, and I realized that it was not coming to life. When I called one customer service person, and knowing that one of their core values was fun, but a little weird. When I called person A, and I wanted to buy a pair of shoes, what kind of weird was I getting? How much fun? When I called salesperson B, how much weird was I getting from that person? Was it so weird that I didn't even think that person would be able to tell me what my shoe size should be? So I basically taught the sounds of all of the core values to all 3,500 employees, so that anyone you dealt with, from the CEO to any single person in the company, when they spoke, you felt the mission, you felt their core values, and it was consistent. They were unique, but you felt it was all tied together. Your voice, as again I said in the video, I like to repeat myself, is the greatest communication tool you will ever have. And yet most people, when they open up their mouths, they don't even like the sound of their own voices. They hear it back on tape and they're like, ugh, really? They watch back a Zoom meeting they had and they're like, oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. I really don't like my voice. So that's a problem. But you should understand that you're not trapped with the voice that you were born with. You weren't born with a speaking voice. You were born with an instrument that you have to learn how to play. You have to tune it up. If you don't tune it up and learn how to play, it's just a piano sitting in your living room that never makes music. You're not stuck with what you have. If you have a nasal voice, it's probably because your dad had a nasal voice. If you speak really airy, thinking that more air means I really care more, but I like you so much, so I'll speak airy, it's probably because your mom or your aunt or somebody in the family spoke airy. You are the voice of imitation. You have imitated all of the sounds that you grew up listening to. And now you are young adults, older adults, and you think, oh, this is me, I'm trapped here.
This is my lot in vocal life. But it's not true. At any time, you can say, here's the sounds that I'm making. I can change them. That's what I do. People come to me at all ages. One of my favorite students was Louise Hay. Anybody know who Louise Hay? She was amazing. She was Oprah's advisor. And she came to me at 80-something and wanted to sound 30-something, and that's one of my favorite students, because voice should last all of your life, and it should be the voice that represents you. You should be happy when your sound comes out and other people hear it. By the way, your voice is not for you. It's a gift that you're supposed to learn how to use and then give away. If your voice was for you, your ears wouldn't be here. Sound goes this way. It's for you. It's a gift. If voice was for me, I'd have ears in my fingers and I'd talk like this. Are you asleep? Yeah, don't be afraid to make noise. I really like noise. You can make any noise you want. Sing if you want. A great voice can do three things and help a company do three things. Number one, it can control the perceptions of other people when you speak. And you want to be able to do that. Why? Because you want to showcase the best of you. Why would you want to open up your mouth and showcase bad perceptions of you? It only takes someone a few seconds to make a first impression. It takes a lot longer to change that first impression into a second impression. So you might as well get good at making sounds that make a great first impression. Second thing is, a great voice moves people emotionally. The goal of a great speaker is for me to speak and for you to feel emotions, but not just one emotion. If I can move you from one emotion to another emotion to another emotion, I've done my job. I've had a great conversation. And if you can give me emotions back, then we've had an amazing two-way communication. The third thing is you want to be able to use voice to control the outcome of every conversation that you have. You want to move people emotionally to take the action that you'd like them to take by the end of the conversation. Most people are entering into conversations with no direction. It's like getting into the car and just telling the navigation system, just take me wherever. You never get anywhere. You never get anywhere you want. So if you can move people emotionally, showcase the best of who you are, change their perceptions, and influence the outcome of communications, and you can do that as a company, amazing. You've influenced people to see the best of you. You've moved them emotionally to believe the things that you stand for as a company. And you've created an outcome. They'll buy your products. They'll buy your services. They'll use your services. Very, very important, individually and company-wise. Here's, other than that people are afraid of speaking in public, here's the number 2 biggest problem as it exists in the world. Oral communication is dramatically flawed in the way that it is taught and learned. We are taught that it is a word-based system. If I had the right words to say to you, word 1, word 2, word 3, that you would believe me, that you would like me, that you would take action on what I'd asked. But words don't have any specific emotion attached to them. So you tell me how I feel. I love my wife. I hate my wife. I love chocolate. I hate chocolate. I love and hate chocolate and my wife. You don't know how I feel about any of those ingredients. Because words by themselves don't have any emotion. This is how the brain processes spoken information. When I speak to you, sound comes out of my mouth and it's supposed to vibrate your bodies. The first part of the body that it goes into, first part of the brain, is called the amygdala. The language of the amygdala is emotion, not logic. The brain processes first for emotion and then for logic. If the amygdala does not think that what you said was emotional, it doesn't even pass that information on to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that thinks about what you just said, decides how it feels about it, attaches it to memories, puts it into memory, decides to take action upon it. So if you're just speaking with words and you don't have the right sounds attached to those words, that's called shallow communication and nobody really cares. You need to speak in what I call deep communication. So it gets right past the amygdala into the prefrontal cortex where you can actually have a conversation where people are processing what you say and how you make them feel. Deep communication is the ticket. The problem in the world, again, is people are learning and graduating from great schools all around the country, all around the world, with very nice hard skills. But they're not graduating with soft skills, specifically the ability to speak with one another. So they get out of a school and they go to a job interview and they can't speak and emotion their way through a job interview to get the job they're actually more than qualified for. That's an issue. That's why I'm so focused on working in the education system so that students know how to speak and teachers know how to teach the students how to speak and teachers know how to speak themselves so that they're creating the most attention and retention. So what sounds are you maybe making that you shouldn't be making, and what sounds should you be making? I said it's a voice is an instrument. Let me teach you a couple of sounds. One, I want you to understand about melody. You're like, Roger, I didn't want to sing. Well, let me talk about the melody of your speaking voice. There's basically 3 directions you can go with melody. You can stay on the same note. That's called monotone. I've come here today. I'm full of passion. I think you're alive because I hear some of you breathing. But if I speak in monotone, you're not 100% sure that I'm alive or that I might be a machine. And yet, you say, Roger, I don't talk like that. I'm a presenter. I'm a CEO. I have a company. I don't talk like that at all. And yet, over 85% of the population speaks mostly on one note. They stay on one note, and then when they get really excited, they're like, oh. They go to the other note, that O note, and then they come back to where they were before until they get excited again. So the world is full of monotone, boring. You're boring the hell out of the people that listen to you. Aside from monotone, the world is full of what's called descending scales. Descending scales. You go down at commas and periods because your elementary teacher told you. She didn't actually tell you, but she did it by example. She said when you get to a comma, you go down. She said when you get to a period, you go down. She didn't know about music so much, because in music, when you have a descending scale, you sound sad. It's my birthday. I didn't get any presents. Why do you want to sound monotone, boring, or sad and depressing? I really want to have fun. Today's great. Let's go to the Mission Summit. And yet, you're going down at commas and periods because your elementary teacher demonstrated it. And you're telling people, I'm sad, I'm depressed. Why are you listening to me? Also, you're letting people interrupt you because every single time you go down, the person who's listening, they think you're done. And they think it's their time to talk. So if you get interrupted, it's a melody problem. I don't get interrupted because it's perfectly clear based on melody, and I haven't gone down right before a comma. I might stay on the same note. I might go up. But it's amazing how long you'd wait for me. As long as I didn't go down, just based on melody. You get it? You need to use ascending scales, the ones that go up. Today's my birthday. This is amazing. I love SMU. Stop thinking that you only can go up when it's a question mark. Those articles that you all read about, Uptalk or Valley Talk, those weren't written by musicians. The difference between uptalk, in case you've heard those things, or you're worried about going up because you think it'll make you sound like a question, the difference is if you slide, if you're talking about this, and you slide up to the last note, they'll maybe think you're from Australia, or they'll think maybe it's a question, or you're not sure. My name is Roger Love. Are you sure? But it's that slide that makes it sound bad. When you don't slide, you can have all the ascending melodies in the world. My name is Roger Love. Not question, statement. SMU, not a question, statement. GSV, statement. Use a ton of ascending melodies. Stop using descending melodies. And please, for the love of God, stop being monotone all the time. Even with companies talking about mission corps, employee turnover is at an all-time high, productivity is at low, and oral communication skills are below subhuman levels. Grammarly did a report that said that every single team member, employee, whatever you would like to call them, is wasting 7.5 hours a week not creating anything because of poor communication. 7.5 hours a week. Almost one full day out of the workday per week is wasted on lost productivity because of poor communication. And that in the US alone, they say that adds up to $1.2 trillion a year in waste because of that poor communication that led to lost productivity, low productivity. Interesting, right? That's way too much money to waste. People feel too often in companies that their voices don't matter, that they're not applauded for being open or honest. There are still companies that are suggesting to their team members, business is not the place for emotions. But authentic, emotional communication is the only solution to saving $1.3 trillion. You have to learn to use authentic, sound-based emotional communication. You can't have a mission corp. You can't have one without attaching that mission to human passions and emotions that can be described and felt. It doesn't work. Years ago, the Coca-Cola company said they were going to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. The world sang along, and more importantly to them, kept drinking. So think of how amazing it would be when you and your company are singing your mission, and the world loves it and wants to sing along. Whenever I come to these things, I always like to do a little warm-up exercise so that I can warm up your voices. With all my students, I do a little warm-up, and then I send them off into the day. So I want to make sure that the communications that you have today are filled with melody and passion and emotion. So sit up in your chairs, chest up, shoulders back and down. I know a lot of you are like this. It's 8 a.m. Chest up, shoulders back and down. Take a big breath in through your nose. Breathe in through your nose. And then blow it out. And now say this for me. I can if I want. Do this with me. I can if I want. Now I'm going to go a little higher. I can if I want. And now we'll go a little higher. I can if I want. Breathe through your nose. I can if I want. This time, let's see how long you can hold can. I can. Keep going. Keep going. We've only begun. If I want. I took it easy on you, a little higher. I can. If I want. A little higher. If I want. Now change it to my neighbor is nice. My neighbor Burr is nice. And now let's go higher. My neighbor is nice. You guys are good. You're even in tune. My neighbor. We're going to have to start a mission choir. My neighbor is nice. Everybody look to the one side of them and say, you're nice. Look to the other side and say, your voice matters. Now you got to coordinate that so you're not both looking away from each other and the other way. What do I do after I warm people up? I like to have them sing a song, little song, okay? It's not going to be in Italian or it's not going to be opera. A very sweet little song that has the fewest words I know. The words are, you are so beautiful to me. Look at the person next to you and say, your voice matters to me. And then look at somebody else and say, your voice is beautiful. I see when I said we were going to have people sing, already people are heading for the aisles. I didn't say we were going to do teeth cleaning. Okay, here's the song. It goes like this. You are so beautiful to me. Now do it with me. You are so beautiful to me. You can hold hands if you want. I was just kidding. And again it goes, you are so beautiful to me. So let's just do it twice. Ready? You are louder. So beautiful to me. And again. You are so beautiful to me. And the next part goes, can't you see? Can't you see? Next part, you're everything I hope for. You're everything I hope for. Everything I need. Everything I need. Now back to the beginning. You are so beautiful to me. Harmony, I love it. Give yourselves a round of applause. Today, every conversation you have, would you pretend that you're singing more than you're speaking? And would you share how you really feel with people so that they can get to know you? And I look forward to seeing you again really soon. Thank you for having me.